thing billowing, bursting forth with the power of 10 billion butterfly sneezes.
This is Wine, Money, and Song. And if you're interested in wine and you want to learn about the best values in wine, please subscribe. Today on Wine, Money, and Song, we're going to make history. What kind of history are we going to make? Well, today we're blowing up the 100-point scoring system. Yes, we are. We're blowing it up. And I'm going to go into it. The first wine that is going to break that barrier is the 2001 Chateau Yquem. And first, let me explain what Sauterne is, because Chateau Yquem is considered to be the greatest Sauterne, and there's very little argument about that. But to explain what makes Sauterne special, there's botrytis, which is noble rot, and there's gray rot, which is the bad rot that destroys the grapes. Sauterne is a very moist area where morning fogs settle, and the moisture infects the grapes with this noble rot botrytis. But in the daytime, it needs to dry out in the sun. And if it doesn't and stays wet during the day, then that gray rot comes and destroys the grapes. So why is Chateau Yquem the best at that? Because they're situated where they are. They're right near a stream that gives moisture at night and early in the morning. They actually have over 60 miles of drainage pipes underneath. So they spare no expense. We're going to go into tasting the 2001 and how it's compared to other Chateau Yquems. So the 2001 Yquem. Now, you can see I have the coverage of my inventory. This is a case of 1975 Chateau Yquem. And notice how it's packaged. I've never seen another wine packed this way ever. It's packed in straw. And this is the 1975 Chateau Yquem. And luxuriously wrapped in straw and taped outside paper. And you see the color of the wine, it's like orange marmalade. And as these wines age, they add color. They go from a dark yellow to an amber to a deep golden brown color. And so 2001 Chateau Yquem. And this wine has been rated a perfect score by Genesis Robertson and is considered to be one of the great Yquems in history. Now, I'm going to read from a list of great vintages. Now, these vintages that I'm naming now are not ones that I've had. So I will name the ones that I have had. So the great vintages of Chateau Yquem that I didn't have was 1921, 28, 29, 37, and 45, all considered to be outstanding years. And the great vintages, which I'm going to compare 2001 to, is 1975, which we have present here, and the other vintages are 1983 and 1989, which have gotten perfect scores before. Now, the 2001 is considered to be one of the great vintages in Sauterne. And there are a lot of outstanding to great Sauternes, but 2001 Chateau Yquem is off the charts. But let me explain a little bit about Chateau Yquem. Now, it is now owned by Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. They bought it from the Lor Solis family, who had it forever. And they kind of made a hostile takeover of Chateau Yquem. And Solis really treated the vineyard with kid gloves and spent endless capital And he's very, very rigorous in his selection. 80% of the wine is Semillon, which Semillon seems to be infected by the botrytis, the noble rot, more readily than other grapes. And being very selective, they make 4 passes during the harvest. And they employ about 150 pickers. So figure out, most people only pick once. They pick at least 4 times. And that adds great expense. And when the wine is botryticized, it loses liquid out of the grapes and concentrates it into a nectar. So there's less fluid, but what's left after the botrytis infects it is a nectar-like ambrosia. And the 2001 is incredible. And the other vintages that I had just mentioned, now there are other wines that are 100 points, but they're still so young, I don't mention them. But I did the older vintages. And the flavors of the 2001, it's like creme brulee. The citrus, pineapple marmalade, vanilla from the wood, and the wines have incredible sweetness and concentration, but the tension from the acidity balances it out. So it has fresh flavors, and it's an incredible mouthful of wine. And the other wines, like 1975 is great. The other vintages I mentioned are great, and they're considered perfect. 2001, there's a big difference between that and those other perfect wines. So guess what? I'm giving it 111 points. Before I go on to the second wine that's breaking the 100-point barrier, I just want to include one little factoid about Chateau Yquem. Each vine at Chateau Yquem only produces 1 glass of wine. That's how concentrated the juices from the botrytis. So understand that, and it's very small production. So on to wine number 2, to break the 100-point barrier, is Chateau Haut-Brion 1989. Boom. Now, I tasted the 89 out of barrel. I believe it was late in 1990. And boy, was I bowed over. I was with Jean Delmas, the winemaker at Haut-Brion, and I was floored. The Haut-Brion, the quality level was so much higher than the wines from Pauillac. It left Lafite Rothschild, Mouton, Latour, Margaux, left it in the dust. And why is that? 89 was a very, very hot year. And the soils in Graves can handle the hotter temperatures because of the stoniness. It reflects back a lot of the light and loses the heat at night much more rapidly than the clay does up in Pauillac. So that's the only reason why I can think of it. Now, Haut-Brion was bought in 1935 by the Dillon family, which is an American family. And part of the family was Douglas Dillon, who was Secretary of Treasury at one time. I don't know if it was under Eisenhower or whatever. But, and there's royalty in that family. It's 45% Cabernet, 37% Merlot, 18% Cabernet Franc. They produce about 15,000 cases a year. Some of the older vintages that are considered to be great vintages was, let me just make sure I get this right, 1921, 28, 29, 45, 55, 59, and 61. Now, I have tasted 61. And it was a special wine. They went through a period of mediocrity from 65 to 74. And I think part of that, a lot of Bordeaux went through because the harvest wasn't good. There was a lot of rain. But after that, they hit all cylinders. Let's talk about why the 89 is going to break the barrier. Well, the other vintages that you can compare it to, perfect vintages: in 1961, which I said I've had once in my life, 2005, and 2016. Now, 2016 is going to be a great wine, but it's still 20, 25 years away from seeing that happening. But the 2005 is a great vintage, but it's aging like a glacier. And I don't know if it's ever going to get to be the quality of 89. 89 is just so sexy, so voluptuous, concentrated, rich, and mouthfilling. It's ripe black fruits, hint of tobacco leaf, and it's incredibly balanced and rich, but I can't find an Haut-Brion that's anywhere in this scale. So I'm giving the 89 Haut-Brion 107 points. And the last wine is going to be considered to be one of the greatest wines made in California in the 1974 Martha's Vineyard from Heights Cellars. And unfortunately, I don't have inventory on that. As you saw, I had a case of Haut-Brion and a case of 75 Yquem. I have owned several bottles of 74 Martha's Vineyard, and I remember tasting it the first time. Probably was in '77. I had it at a wine course I was taking at CW Post on Long Island, and we had all the great California wines, and we had the 74. And I remember, I thought how well it was made, how rich it was, but it was really minty. That mint, that eucalyptus quality that's present in these wines was really dominant at the point. And I was a little worried that was maybe going to be too in the main frame, too much in a blackout or the car, but is aged out. And this wine, the 3 or 4 other times I've had it, incredible. And you know that the grapes come from Tom May's Martha's Vineyard, sold to Heights, and the great vintages was 68, 70, and personally I like 85 a lot. But I consider this wine, as I said, to be one of the great California cabs ever. So in 1974, Joe Heights was in the hospital. He had a bad back. So his son, David, had to make the wine. And he did a great job. Now, supposedly, he was going to the hospital and visiting Joe and giving him samples, and Joe was telling him what to do with the wine. But the son, David, did a great job with this vineyard and this vintage. And the key thing with this, it's saturated color, the 74. Very minty, but very restrained now, blended in perfectly. It has lead pencil quality to it, very rich, balanced black fruits. Incredible length in this wine. And I'm going to give it 105 points. That's breaking the barrier. And as I said, this is in 1974, Martha's Vineyard. I do own a lot of other different vintages, but I think if you bought it now, it'd be close to $2,000 a bottle of 74. But it's one of the greatest wines made in California. So there you go. 3 wines that have absolutely, positively blown up the 100-point system. Chateau Haut-Brion 89, Chateau Yquem 2001, and Heights Vineyard, Martha's Vineyard 1974. There goes the 100 points.